Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda and I'll be guiding our practice today. My question for you as you begin today is, how intentional and patient are you with transition? I am not at all intentional or patient. I'm a very impatient person, and I like to go from one thing to the next rapidly, which sometimes means that I am not as prepared as I should be to move on to that next thing. I think it's a human tendency, and throughout Scripture, God spends a lot of time preparing his people for what he is calling them into. Years, sometimes, of waiting. When Pharaoh had finally let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, "Lest the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt." When the people were finally delivered into Canaan, there was war. But after 40 years in the wilderness, they were ready for it. Had God taken them the quick way, the short way, through the land of the Philistines, they may have turned back more quickly to Egypt. Instead, he took them to the Red Sea. They experienced his power, his miracles, his provision, and then they journeyed. Today's practice will be a little bit different than what I usually teach. Today, we are going to spend a lot of time on transitions. So we will practice transitions and then move into a flow that utilizes those. Find a comfortable seated position, maybe elevating the hips up on a blanket or a block. Begin to rock a little bit side to side, front to back. Find your sitting bones. And settle in, finding that place where you feel rooted and grounded. Begin to find breath. One hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And begin to breathe in and out through the nose. Inhaling down the body, exhaling up the body. Begin to slow your breath down, letting the day fade away. Letting go of the to-do lists. Giving yourself permission to settle in to whatever transitioning you are doing in your life right now. As God moves you from one place to the next, how is he preparing you? Take another 2 breaths like this. As you're ready, let the hands come down to the mat. Beginning to connect breath and movement, bring the hands out to the side. Exhale into cat pose. Then turn those palms back, thumbs down. Open up as those shoulders roll back and under. Find cow. So back and forth here, cat to cow. What do you notice today? What's going on in the back, in the hips, maybe even in the shoulders or neck? What do you notice? How might you want to adjust your practice? Give yourself permission to make this practice your own. One more time here. Deep breath in, arms rise, stretch up, exhale, bringing the hands down to the side. Press into that right hand as that left arm comes over, lengthening through the sides of the body. And go the other direction. And 2 more times here, each direction. Notice where the gaze goes. Is it better for you to look up towards that shoulder as you reach over? Is it better for you to follow the hand to the floor? Next time your hand comes to the right, leave it there, no rush. Bring that left arm over, anchor into the sitting bones, engage through the abdominals. Draw the gaze up if that's comfortable for you. Maybe the shoulder comes back a little bit, maybe it comes down a little bit. And then inhale and rise and go the other direction and open up the space between those ribs. Settle deeply into the sitting bones, finding breath. Deep breath in, arms rise, and exhale, hands down to the mat. Come off any props that you are on. Go ahead and bring props that you have towards the front edge of the mat. I invite you to take that left leg out to the side. Turn the body towards the leg, bounce the knee a little bit. Again, thinking about transitions, stretching out the hamstrings before we go into those warrior poses. Exhale slowly forward, inhale back. What do you notice? 2 more times here. As you're ready, come forward and settle in. Engage the abdominals, lengthen through the spine. Let the head get heavy. And adjust the pose. And maybe for you, this is all about the back today. Maybe it's all about the leg. Taking a deep breath in, press into the hands, bring that leg back in a pinwheel. Bring the shins parallel to the edges of the mat. Begin to gently rock the hips, lifting that front knee up and down a few times. Noticing what's going on as you massage the glutes. Add the movement of the body, dropping the head, the shoulders into that leg, rising up. What do you notice in the hip? 2 more times here. And as you're ready, that knee comes down, hands to either side of the leg. Bring the body over the leg and support your head. So if you have a block or a prop, maybe that forehead is up. Or maybe you are a little more flexible. The head can come all the way down to the hands. Find your breath and adjust the pose with breath. Taking a deep breath in, press into your hands and rise. And switch. So now that left leg is out to the side, right foot connected in, finding this seated tree pose. Exhaling, come forward, inhaling back, back and forth here a few times. As you're ready, come forward and settle. So pressing the heel forward, drawing the hips back, letting the head come down as you shake the head out, no and yes. Finding breath. As you're ready, Press into your hands and rise up. Go ahead and bring that knee behind you. Again, the shins parallel to the edges of the mat. Lift and lower this front leg. Massage out the glutes. Notice the sensations on this side. Where are they similar? Where are they different? And so even here, a transition. Transitioning from one pose to the next. Go ahead and add, dropping in the head and the shoulders, add the movement of the body. Taking the time to understand what's going on, to feel the wisdom of the body. One more time here. And to adjust accordingly. Let that knee come down, body comes over the leg. Again, slowly. It's always better to underestimate your flexibility than to overestimate it. Maybe you are propping the head. Maybe the head comes down. Find breath here. One more breath here. What do you notice? Inhaling, press into the hands and rise up. Meet me in table. So here in table, again, preparing for the transitions between poses, let's just start with the hip tilt, dropping the hip points down towards the mat and then up towards the sky. Exhale as the hips drop down. Inhale as they rise. What do you notice? And then meet me at center. And let's work just a little bit with the shoulders. So round those shoulders a little bit out and forward and down. Let the head hang. And then take those shoulders a little bit back. Maybe you move the arms a little bit with that and open up across the chest. And so this half of a cat pose here as you exhale. Draw back. Think of it like a Sphinx pose. And two more times here. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. How easily do those shoulder blades move? What are you noticing in the shoulder girdle? Where do you need to be careful? As you're ready, meet me back in table. So let's just start with this transition into downward facing dog. So I invite you to tilt the hips forward, dropping them down, curl the toes under, bring the knees into the rib cage. Let's stay here in the moment. Let the head drop between the arms, shake your head out, no and yes. Deep breath in, maybe those arms push away from the body just a little bit. Then engaging the abdominals, begin to pedal through your feet. Noticing the response of the hamstrings. Noticing also the flexibility in the feet and the ankles, sensations in the calves. So deep breath here, heels rise. Exhale, heels come down towards the mat, downward facing dog. Transitioning into a plank, can you take those shoulders wide and forward and round the chest up a little bit, just like you did in that cat pose, and then draw forward into your plank as the shoulder blades come underneath. Draw down to table. So, drop the hips. Every time you come into downward dog, okay, drop the hips, curl the toes, knees to ribs, straighten the legs. Forward into plank. Meet me in table. Take a breath here. Find that strong table. Find that transition to downward dog. Tilt the hips towards the mat. Toes curled under, knees to rib cage, then straighten. One more time here. Forward into that plank. Coming down to the knees. Tilt the hips. Press into your downward dog. Stay here for 3 breaths. Notice how it feels. Maybe you can make it a little bit stronger as you engage the muscles of the legs. Quadriceps drawing the knees up towards the hips reaching to where the ceiling meets the sky. Heels dropping down. Use those serratus muscles underneath the arms to push the arms forward. So this next transition is tricky. So let's go from downward facing dog to a lunge. So you're going to use that same technique you used in your plank. You're going to round your shoulders up a little bit. You're going to engage your abdominals. You're going to create as much space as you can underneath. Then you're going to push off with the leg that is staying back. So you're going to use, so for just a moment, just lift your heels, feel the body push forward, press back. One more time. Push forward with your feet. Press back. So you're going to use that foot that stays back to propel you forward. So here we go. You're going to create that space underneath. Let's move our right leg forward. So left leg's going to push, draw the gaze forward, and float the foot through. So if it doesn't go, lots of options, right? You're going to lift up. You're going to create as much space as you can, but it takes practice. It takes time. So if you need to, just go to where you go, lift the foot and move it. Other options are to move the arm a little bit. So back from downward facing dog, transitioning forward, just lift the arm and create a little more space. From here, gently press the knee down and up. We're just going to stretch out that psoas muscle in the back leg. One more time here. And then let that knee come down to the mat, rise up into your lunge. Let's just find a strong lunge. So low lunge, hand to the thigh, press the muscles towards the knee. Let this back hip rotate slightly forward, front hip slightly back. Engage the inner thighs as if they're pulling together and in. Find stability there and with your focal point. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale, let the hands come to the small of the back. Open up across the chest. Find your back bend as you begin. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale, hands to either side of the foot. So bring that foot back to table. Take a breath in table. Notice how the body feels. Notice the quality of breath. Curling the toes under, bring knees to ribs. Straightening out the legs, find downward dog. Checking in here, noticing right side compared to left, right foot compared to left. The body, ankle to knee, knee to hip, hip to shoulders, shoulders to wrists. What do you notice? So again, just finding this space. This time it's the left leg that's going to come forward. So before we do that, just come up to the ball of your foot as those heels kind of propel you forward. And then drop them down. Right? And again, just kind of a lift up, push that body. Open up that space. Abs are in, shoulders are a little rounded. So here we go. You're going to push off with this right foot. This left leg's going to come through. How did that work for you? Maybe try it one more time. Remembering you can move the arm a little bit. If the foot doesn't get there, here we go. Move the arm. Maybe you just lift the foot and bring it forward. Back knee taps down and up, stretching through the hip a little more. A little bit of a quadricep stretch here as well. Where are you tight today? As you're ready, let the knee come down to the mat. Again, just rise up, hand to thigh, gently push the muscles of the thigh towards the knee. Let that back hip rotate a little bit forward. Front hip rotates a little bit back. Inner thighs draw towards each other and towards center. Find stability there. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhaling, hands to the small of the back. Focal point will change, so can you find that focal point directly above wherever the gaze falls as you come into your back bend? Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhaling, hands come to either side of the foot. Raising the back leg, float that front leg to the back, meet me in plank, and come down to the knees. This time, child to table twice. Just drawing all the way back, lengthening through the spine. Inhale up. One more time here. Working through our next transition, curling the toes under, tilting the hips, knees to rib cage, straightening the legs. Meet me in downward dog. Find breath. Don't rush through the transitions. Float through them. So now we're going to bring our legs in between our hands, both feet in between our hands. So we have several options here. So we can just kind of walk the feet forward. So again, use your feet. Same way you would in the, if you were walking, same way, I don't know what I was going to say there. If you were propelling yourself forward in a walk, you would do the same thing here, okay? And maybe those feet come back, child to table. Tilt the hips, meet me in downward dog. Okay, next transition is to bring one foot forward. So you're just going to do the same thing that you did with your lunge, but you're going to come all the way forward to the front of your mat into a forward fold. So float the hips up, push off with that left foot. The right foot will come all the way forward and you will step forward. Forward fold. So as you come into forward fold, how does the back feel today? Maybe you're not coming all the way down. Maybe your hands are on your shins. Or maybe you're using blocks for a little extra support. Find your forward fold. Shake your head out, no and yes. Hands to shins, rise up. Exhale down. Step back into your lunge. Knees down, child to table. Tilt the hips forward, meet me in down dog. Stay here for a breath. So that final transition is that hop forward, which I really have never gotten down. Never spent a lot of time on it, honestly. But if that's something you're really looking to try to get, for a few times, just push off with the ball of the foot, and those hips will float up. You're going to bend your knees. You want to propel yourself up. Those hips will float, and you'll bring your feet forward. Okay. So, however you choose to do it, practice it a couple times, from downward facing dog to coming forward into forward fold. Meet me in forward fold. Settle here. Shake your head out, no and yes. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down, pressing through the feet, come all the way up, palms together, and exhale, hands to heart. Settle into mountain and check in. Find your breath. Notice the way the body feels. Maybe you can slow the heart rate down as you slow your exhale down. So as we settle here, give yourself permission to play in this practice, to push boundaries a little bit, to get stronger, to get faster, But be wise. Work with your own strength, your own flexibility. Take a nice deep breath in here. Slow exhale. Arms rise all the way up. Hands to heart. So let's practice transitioning back into a lunge. So it seems very basic, but the foot that's moving back needs to start without weight on it. So if you are standing evenly on both feet and then you bring one leg back, it's less smooth of a transition than if you're floating that foot. So from mountain, press into that right foot, press it down, float that left foot, bend the knee a little bit, take it back to your lunge. Okay. Find the lunge. Same thing we did before. Go ahead and nudge the muscles of the thigh towards the knee, the shoulders back, extend that leg with a little micro bend of the knee. This is a practice, so bring that leg back up. Meet me in mountain. Same thing with the other leg. So as that right leg comes back, you're going to press down with that left foot. Take an extra moment here. You're really going to float, and then you're going to bring that leg all the way back, right? So maybe you can find that full long stance as you come all the way back, and you won't need to adjust if you're not kind of hopping or dragging the foot back. Come on forward. So 2 more times each side here. Again, just play with it and find it. And how smoothly can you get from mountain to lunge? Maybe 1 more time each side. Can you keep your eyes on the focal point in front of you? And when you're ready, meet me in mountain. Check in and notice what you notice. Take 1 more breath here. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale, forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come back, 1 leg back, and then the other into your plank. And then from plank, drop down to the knees, tilt the hips, meet me in down dog. From downward facing dogs, bring those feet forward. So propel them forward. And again, maybe it's just 1 foot at a time, or maybe you're hopping forward. Maybe you're just walking forward many steps. Shake your head out knowing yes, find your forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down. Take a deep breath in, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. So we're going to practice the transition from lunge to warrior 1. So that front leg. So let's step into the right leg, float the left leg, come into your lunge with your left leg. Okay. So from lunge to warrior 1, you're going to move that back leg wider. It's going to go to the outside edge of that mat, and that back foot is going to be flat. But the hips are not going to move very much. So align in the lunge, engage in the abdominals. So remember, the foot that's moving can't have weight on it. So you're going to shift your weight slightly forward into that front foot so that that back foot can move. Back foot's going to land at a 45-degree angle forward, pressing through the outside edge of the outside edge of the foot. And hips are facing approximately front. Okay? Nice deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale, hands to heart. We're going to come back up into the mountain. So you're going to push off that back foot and come forward. Okay. Now, step into your left foot, float the right, find the lunge, right? You're going to take weight off of that back foot. Weight's going to come into that front foot to find your warrior one. Okay? It's a little movement of the body there to protect the knees, to protect the hips, just to create that alignment that feels right for your body in warrior one. So again, hips are approximately forward, little extra weight in that back foot. And you're going to internally rotate that back hip forward a little bit. Front hip's going to come back a little bit. Nice deep breath in. Weights in the front leg. Come forward. So let's try that one more time. Stepping into the right leg. Float the left. Take it all the way back. Coming into, that was into lunge, into warrior one. Float and lift, shift the foot. So the leg is wider, the foot is angled. Weight comes into that front leg. Come back up to mountain. Same thing other side. Stepping into the left. Float the right. Find the lunge. From the lunge, you're going to press into the front foot so that you can push off with the back and find your warrior one. Okay? Meet me back in mountain. All right. So we are going to practice a transition that I almost never teach. But if you do a lot of yoga, you will experience it in many of your classes. So I just want to equip you so that you know how to do it well. So we're going to go from warrior one to warrior two. It involves a shift of the hips, a completely different orientation of the body, which is why I don't teach it. But it can be done, just needs to be done carefully. So here we go. Right leg, step into it. You're going to float your left, come into your lunge. Come into your warrior one, wide stance. So you're going to sink into that front foot, push off the back, and then land in warrior one. Okay. So from here, in order to find warrior two, my hips are facing forward now. I'm going to switch them so my hips are wide. You're going to need to float this back foot, lift it up, and move it so that it is behind the front foot and the back edge of the foot is parallel to the mat. It's going to look like this. All the weight's going to come into that front foot, right? So we're in warrior one, and you're going to lift and come back and find warrior two. So just to find your warrior two, so you kind of know what it feels like here, hinge forward just a tiny bit, and then tuck this hip under in the back. And then use this front hip to draw the knee over the ankle. So hips are generally facing wide, body is long, right? Pivot that back foot, find your lunge. And from your lunge, okay, all the weight's in the front foot, you're going to push off and meet me in mountain. Okay? So lunge to warrior one, to warrior two, to lunge. Okay? Stepping into the left foot, lunges first. Float the foot, find it. Okay? In order to get to warrior one, you need to take the weight out of that back foot. You're going to push up a little bit and come down with that foot angled. Hips are still forward. Bring the arms out. Well, we'll take them up. So as the body moves, the arms are going to come out to the side. It's just kind of a natural way to remind yourself that now the body will be reoriented. Press into the front foot. Weight comes off the back. Step into your warrior two. Okay. So alignment for warrior two, that front heel is approximately at the center of that back foot. That back foot is parallel to the back edge of the mat. And again, just finding the hips. If you lean forward just a little bit here and then tuck under, you're going to Engage all the muscles of that inner thigh. And here, instead of leading from the knee back, you're just going to tuck the hips and come back, warrior two. Okay. So you're going to pivot into the lunge. You can actually just do that in the ball of the foot. It's a reorientation of the body. We're just going to pivot, okay? And then push off the back foot so the weight comes into the front as you step up into your lunge. So we're going to do that one more time, okay? Lunge, warrior one, warrior two, lunge. Step into the right leg. Let's start with hands to heart. Float the left back into lunge. Push off that back foot, arms rise, find warrior one. Hands out to the side, weight comes into the front. Bring that back foot down. Warrior two, adjust the hips. Pivot back to lunge. Push off with that back foot. Meet me in mountain. Same thing, final time, until we put it all together with that left leg. So, pressing into the left leg, right leg's going to come back, float into that lunge. Arms will rise, push off, come into your warrior one. Hands to the outside, you're going to put all the weight in the front leg as you float that back foot, reorient the body. Check your alignment, adjust your hips. Pivot back to your lunge. Hands to heart. Find your breath. Find your breath. Notice what you notice. How are the feet connected to the mat? How do you feel? What's your quality of breath? What sensations do you notice? Take a nice deep breath in, arms rise, exhaling, forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway, exhale down, one leg back and then the other, meet me in plank. From plank, draw the knees down, child to table. Tilt the hips, curl the toes, press into downward dog. Check into downward facing dog. How does it feel compared to where you started today? So we're going to flow now from one thing into the next. So let's just start. Let's come into this plank as we open up a lot of space. Around those shoulders, draw the belly in, meet me in plank. Drop to the knees, child to table. Curl the toes under, meet me in down dog. Taking a deep breath in, walk or one leg through or hop both of your feet in between your hands. For forward fold, I didn't do that well. Go ahead and shake your head out, no and yes. Hands to shins, rise up halfway, exhale down. Come all the way up, mountain pose. Hands to heart. From here, step into your lunge, deep breath in. Left leg comes back. Exhale, right hand to the small of the back, left arm comes across, find a twist. Stay and twist. Come out of it, arms rise, push off that back foot and find warrior one. Push off the back foot to warrior two. Peaceful warrior. Side angle bend. Peaceful warrior, pivot to lunge. Hands to heart. Push off that back foot and meet me in mountain. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhaling, forward fold. And hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale down. And one leg back and then the other, meet me in plank. And from plank, child to table. Notice the transitions, take your time. Table to down dog. Drawing the gaze forward. Walk or hop the feet in between the hands. And hands to shins, rise up halfway. And exhale down. Deep breath in, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Stepping into the right leg, float the left. Meet me in lunge. And from lunge, find warrior one. From warrior one, find warrior two. Peaceful warrior. Side angle bend. One more peaceful warrior. And pivot everything forward. Hands to heart. All the weight in that front foot as that back foot pushes off and you float forward. Meet me in mountain. Deep breath in, find your extended mountain. Push those arms all the way up, up, up. Exhaling, find forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale down. One leg back and then the other. Meet me in plank. From plank, child to table. Tilt the hips, find downward facing dog. Drawing a deep breath in, gaze comes forward. Get the feet in between the hands. How are you going to do that? Shake your head out no and yes. And hands to shins, rise up halfway and exhale down and come all the way up to extended mountain. Reach, reach, reach. Exhaling, hands to heart. Stepping into that left foot, float that right leg back. Raise the arms up. Exhale, right hand comes to the small of the back. Left arm comes across. Meet me in that twist. Release as the arms rise. Find warrior one. Hands out to the side. Find warrior two. Peaceful warrior. Side angle bend. One more time, peaceful warrior. Pivot into lunge. Push off with the back foot, float the body forward. Meet me in mountain. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhaling, find forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down. One leg back and then the other. Meet me in plank. And from plank, knees come down. Child to table 3 times. Even here, transitioning. What do you notice? How does the body want to settle? Settle into child. Find your breath. What are the transitions in your life right now? And what would it look like to be a little bit more intentional about how you're using that time and experience? One more breath here. As you're ready, press into your hands and rise up. Bring your feet forward. Go ahead and take your feet wide and gently drop your knees side to side. And as you're ready, go ahead and come all the way down onto your back. I invite you to bring the knees in, to hold on either underneath the knees or over the shins and gently rock side to side. And then as you're ready, meet me at center. Feet together, go ahead and rotate the knees on the ceiling. And again, even this, a transition. Beginning to slow our heart rate down, our breath down, cooling the body down as we ready ourselves for Shavasana. Massaging out any areas that may still be holding tension. Gently draw the knees into the rib cage and away, restoring a neutral position of the lower back. And as you're ready, bring your feet to the mat and extend your legs long. I invite you to windshield wiper your feet and bounce your knees, wiggle your hips a little bit. Bring your hands up to the ceiling, palms facing in, reach as high as you can and let the shoulder blades thump back to the mat. And one more time here. And just soften the arms and let them come down to the side, palms up. Consider turning the top of the head from the top of one ear, the back of the head, or turning the head from the top of one ear up and over to the top of the other. Settling at center. Find your breath. I'm going to read to you today from the poetry book, All Along You Were Blooming. You are being called beyond the shore to a place you have never been before. The water may be colder there, and the ocean floor may seem too far. But you are going to learn more of who you are. So keep your eyes open as you venture out today. These waters are new, but do not be afraid. You are only going to grow here as your eyes and heart become open to the process of becoming. I invite you to stay here a little longer if you can. If you need to move on with your day, begin to bring movement back. Wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles, turning your head side to side. Taking a deep breath in, arms rise up and overhead, fingertips reach to one while toes to the other. Stretch as long as you can. As you're ready, gently bend your knees and roll over onto one side, staying here and finding breath. Gently press into your hands and rise up to sitting, finding your sitting bones and keeping your eyes closed if you're comfortable with that. Check in one final time, body, mind, and soul, noticing what has changed since you came to the mat today, noticing also what has stayed the same. Taking a deep breath in, arms rise up and overhead, palms together, exhaling, bring hands to heart, bowing your head in prayer. Father, it is so hard for us to be patient when we can see new and wonderful things on the horizon. Help us to remember that you are always working, always preparing, and that your timing is perfect. We ask, Spirit, that you guide us, give us clarity, help us to know the path forward, and prepare us in all the ways that we need to be strengthened so that we can accomplish all that it is that you have for us. It is in your name, Jesus, that we pray. Amen. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today.